Reina, how many languages do you speak and how did you learn to speak them?
こんにちは、皆さん. Hello everyone, this is Reina again. Thanks Rafa and Jack for having me again. So in this time, we're going to talk about my experience about how I self-taught several languages as a girl from a small town that had no foreigners. Almost, I believe it was zero. Literally, everyone in my school were all 100% Korean. But I always had a dream that I'm going to work with foreigners in the future. So yeah. So first, I speak English and Japanese at a level that I can work without any problem. So since my field is in marketing, I had to, prove that I can speak English and Japanese even though I haven't lived there to my foreign companies. So first, I had to get some good scores in a test, like in TOEIC, which is for English, I got a full score almost within 3 months, and also for JLPT N1, which is the highest rank in Japanese test, I got it within 7 months after N1. So when I talked about this to my Japanese coworkers, they were very shocked, but I don't really believe that, I was just genius or something. Just I knew how to play with it inside of my brain. I'm sure what Rafa, he already knows about it. I actually watched his videos and he talked about that how his friends influenced him, or same as Zach, right? Because you guys are brought up. You guys were brought up in a UK that had a kind of diverse, cultures. But in my case, I literally had no foreigners in my town at all. My very first tip is about flexible mindset. So as a meditation teacher, I can't stress it enough, because depending on your mindset, you can be super just stressed or you can truly enjoy your process. Anyway, believe that you will get the point. You will get the point. Don't feel you need to hurry or you need to do something very, urgently. Just enjoy the process. Let's think about your identity. How does it serve you? I'm British, so learning Japanese and Korean are so hard for me. It only becomes an excuse. So I want you to, get away from that excuses and just see yourself as a global citizen and embrace your new self as a Korean, maybe French, you can be so. How do you feel? Do you agree?
I've actually had this discussion with a lot of people before where they feel uncomfortable to really embrace the accent of another person's country because they feel like they're being offensive. And that's the difference between the 안녕 하세요, 영국 사람이에요, and 안녕하세요, 영국 사람. Because I am comfortable to feel, and embrace Korea as I am. I know I'm not Korean. I know I'm a 외국인, which means foreigner or gaijin in Japan. But I don't see them as different to me. I appreciate the difference, but also feel that connection. And it does feel uncomfortable at the start, but once you embrace it, you will be able to really make progress that you didn't think was possible. How about you, Jack?
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And something you reminded me of actually is the difference between the fixed or the growth mindset, which you may have read about in psychology. And it's, I guess on one side, some people believe that they just are the way they are. They're in a box, so to speak, right? They label themselves. But then on the other side, people think more like yourself, which is, I can be what I want. I can wake up tomorrow and I can be something different to what I was today.
All the, social norms or all the perspective that I used to have as a Korean, I literally let it go. So you should kind of set aside your previous knowledge and your thoughts about yourself. You should be able to let it go in order to be your new self.
For sure. And we're also going to invite a good friend of mine, CJ, who's a Korean, who we actually speak French fluently with. Hopefully he'll be on soon. But what I'd like to ask then is, so did you learn Japanese or English first?
I learned English first. It all started from my obsession. We all have our own obsessions. For example, I have something with a dictionary. The thing that I must find the meaning of this or differences between this word no matter what happened. It's kind of the mindset. Like, for example, Jack mentioned before that you used to bother your secondary friends to ask about Arabic words in the middle of the movie, right?
Yeah.
That is the good obsession. To learn something, we need it. We need to bother people. Don't be afraid of bother people, especially Korean and Japanese we are so scared of bothering people. But this is the world we live together. You have to bother people, and you will later you will help the people in another way. So don't be afraid of that. And so I believe that everyone has their own obsessions. The reason how I could keep up with my study for long by myself was because I found true joy from it. I didn't get any stress. I was having fun. I was just playing with it.
I think, you're making me really think and analyze my own family, because when we put on a movie at home, some of my closest family members work in the film industry. So when they're watching a movie together, they're really analyzing the lighting, the way that it was shot, how it was directed. Whereas what I want to do, even if it's an English language film, I'll ask them to put the subtitles on, and I'm really scrutinizing the language, how it's written, the wordplay, and I'll be making comments about, oh, wow, this is such a well-written movie, while they're also speaking about the lighting. And I think the excellent part of that is when you're with people who have different obsessions, you learn about those other things as well, and you can share them. So I'm sure that by spending time with me, they're able to now appreciate the language more and little things they might have missed. But I'm also starting to look at things like lighting and appreciate those as well. So when you combine the obsessions with the people around you, you can learn so much. It's awesome.
Yeah, this reminds me of last night. Actually, we were watching that show, right? What was the language?
That was an Urdu language show.
Yeah. So they were speaking Urdu. I was not looking at the screen sometimes, and I could just pick up certain words that were the same in Arabic, or sometimes they'd speak English. But yeah, so we were just literally analyzing the language there as well, saying, that sounds like that word in that language. And yeah, when you have fun with it, I think you actually derive great joy just from bothering people and connecting the dots and trying to learn. I think language and culture are inextricably kind of linked. You can't separate them, in my opinion. Have you had any kind of deep cultural immersions on your language journeys?
I was just lucky to have a mom who was very open-minded. She told me since I was little that I can be whatever that I want. I don't have to be a Korean always. She just allowed me to be myself. And I was also lucky to have a television because, while watching dramas or movies, I really consider them as my friend. So actually how I learned by myself is still right now too. I think, I write, I read, and I even talk to myself in Korean, English, and Japanese, all of the language. In order to, keep going on this journey, you need to find your passion. It depends on everyone. Like for me, before learning Japanese, I was very much into a fashion magazine because the styling was so amazing. It's so detailed, so delicate. Because of that, I could keep up with my study. So find your passion and connect your passion with the language that you want to learn. And then you will never get really bored or tired as much as you think. That is the key point to have a long, journey.
That's it, because I repeat this every single episode now, but the person who loves walking is going to go further than the person who loves the destination. And even to this day, I remember studying for my GCSEs, which would have been over 15 years ago now. And I just really enjoyed hip-hop music. So I would listen to French hip-hop music, reading the lyrics. And now at the age of 15 years later, I was in Paris a few weeks ago. I was on Spotify on the RER, which is like the subway there, and just listening to new hip-hop songs and learning new words. And that process, it means that even now I'm still learning and pushing myself to learn more. Not because I want to really study French, but I've got a passion for music. And it's really nice to combine those two together. And you don't realize you're studying. When it's involving your passion, you literally forget that this is work. And once you forget that it's work, you're gonna get such huge growth in those moments.
I think they call that the flow state.
Yeah, right on point. And also, if you have kind of more open mindset, I also recommend language exchange app. There you can find so many people, and there the most important thing is that I ask you to find your passion, right? And find foreigners who has a similar passion as yours. When you're talking about a topic that you both can resonate with, that is where you can find a really good friend. Through this, actually, I found a few really good friends, and they really helped me so much.
Yeah, that's interesting. Reminds me of a story of mine, actually. When I was in Colombia last year, somebody who I became very good friends with, when I eventually left Colombia, we would have regular Zoom calls, maybe 3 times a week, and speak half of the call in English and half of the call in Spanish. And we did connect on different levels. We were interested in writing, literature, and different topics. So that was kind of cool as well. So you can get the best from, whether you're in the country or whether you're out of the country. I think you just need to be proactive.
Sure. I mean, it's a relevant story because Reina and I actually met online first. Reina reached out to me to do some interview coaching for the most part. So we started doing kind of conventional interview practice, which eventually she got the job for. So that was a while ago, but I'm still super proud. But then after that, we realized that we both had this kind of passion for living life on our own terms, designing the way that we would ourselves want to work flexibly. And then that's where I guess the friendship grew, because we realized, we both were really interested in these things. So yeah, having that interest is key, I would say.
It is.
Yeah.
And for the last, I really want to emphasize that don't try to find a perfect way, perfect way to learn a language. It's not that Rafa speaks French fluently because he knows the secrets. No, just he found his own way and I found my own way. So don't, change your learning style depending on, who you are right now, are, into. Don't do that. Just keep up with the one style. Just go with it. For example, for me, I'm on a Duolingo, almost striking for 600 days, and I have literally no thoughts about it. No thoughts. I'm just doing it before sleep, and I don't really analyze that how it's going to help my language learning or how I'm going to be with this. No, just do it. Do it without much thoughts. And that is the key point. When you're actually putting too much thoughts, how this is going to help me, learning, A, B, C, which one I should go for it. Don't do that. Just go for what you really like to do. That is the best for you.
So you turn it into more of a game.
It is.
And enjoy it. Yeah,
for me, it's a game.
What advice would you give to people who struggle with consistency of learning a language? So you said you do some things before bed. That's an interesting way to continue to practice. But I've met loads of people who eventually struggle with consistency, especially when they leave a certain country where the language is spoken. So do you have any tips for people?
As I mentioned, find your passion first. Then connect your passion with the language that you want to learn. And try to make it as the smallest bite, which can be like a Duolingo game, or it can be watching a few minutes of videos that you like. Or can be read a book that talks about talks about something that you like. Could be a hip hop songs or read a fashion magazine before sleep. It can be so diverse, so I can't really tell the person that do it A, B, C. No, there is no such a routine. No one can find the best way for you. There is no such a perfect way to learn English, Japanese, Korean, whatever. You need to find for yourself. No, even your parents can find for yourself. You need to customize depending on your style. In order to do that, of course, you need to know and find yourself first.
You really remind me of a YouTuber who Jack and I have followed for many years and a bit of an inspiration to us, Ali Abdaal. And he's one of the key ideas that he pointed out was focusing on input rather than output. So rather than saying, I need to be fluent in French, or I need to, whatever it is in life, your goal is, you can't control Like I can't just put the on or off switch to be fluent in French. But what I can control is my efforts to do so. So like you said, the Duolingo, all the things that I can do, focus on doing them well. And then the results are going to come in the end. Because I can't control what the end result is, but I can control what I put into it. But I do have a question from the perspective more of maybe the Koreans or the Japanese or anyone who's from a more monocultural environment. I'm sure that trying to like really learn the languages like you did and like forget that you're Korean, that must have been, some of the people around you may have reacted to that maybe negatively. Were there any challenges like where you remember, because I know in Korea, everything is done like in a uniform, like one kind of way. And then suddenly you're there forgetting that you're Korean and embracing other cultures. Were there some challenges and how did you overcome that in your journey to really becoming fluent in those languages?
So to be honest, in my teenager time, I couldn't do much, study about English and Japanese, of course, because I was spending from 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. at school. I didn't have any self time, and how can I, do something that I truly passionate about? But well, my mom always supported me. She always supported me to be myself, and more than anything, in order to help your children to be themselves, the best way is don't make a decision for them. My mom always told me, no, ask yourself, you know the answer. She always told me, I'm Korean, but I can resonate with sometimes British culture, sometimes with Japanese culture. Sometimes I feel like Singapore is like my second hometown. I feel like they are really my family, so I just go there, then I feel so relaxed. We all have our second home. I believe it. So just relax, have an open mind, and just, consider it as a fun journey. You may find your own second home while learning about a new culture. You don't have to always, you don't have to end up with your life in your hometown, in your home country. And in order to do that, you need to learn language. And in order to learn language, you need the consistency. And in order to keep up with that consistency, you need to find your own passion. Connect with your passion with the language that you want to learn. Then every time when you learn something on small things, give a compliment to yourself. Don't find a compliment or any recognition from your outside. You need to do it for yourself. Whenever you finish like a small chapter or whenever you strike like 100 days for Duolingo, tell yourself like, wow, Reina, you're amazing. You did it. And when you feel like you're stressed because, oh my goodness, this French is actually way harder than I thought, then consider it as wow, I'm doing so bad. I'm doing so fast. I'm doing my best. That's why I feel so hard. If you never, make an effort, then you don't even feel this is difficult. That is a proof that you are advancing and you are evolving in your own way.
Yeah, for sure. It reminds me a little bit though, because although the UK is really diverse, I grew up in a place that was actually still pretty English in terms of culture. And I remember that I picked for both GCSEs and A-levels, French and Spanish. And some of the reactions from some of my friends at the time was quite like critical. Like, why would you want to do languages, mate? Everyone speaks English. So I was a bit marginalized at that time. So my message would be to anyone who feels like, they're resisting the status quo and the norm around them, you will get that little bit of resistance sometimes from people around you. However, what it's done in the long term, and I could have never realized when I was a kid and I decided to study those languages, how much it would have broadened my horizons. And the world just became such a more interesting and bigger place because I can now look at so many more countries and say, oh, I'll be okay there because they speak this language or that language. So that initial resistance, sometimes we all have to go through it. It's normal. Whatever we do in life, there's going to be some resistance. But to look at someone from Korea, because I know from my friends here how just most people follow the trends here. To break away from that takes a lot of courage, but the rewards of doing so, are incredible. So that's my motivation to anyone there who really is planning to learn about other cultures and languages. you'll get some resistance, but fighting. 할 수 있어요.
간발해.
But to add to that, you get resistance. However, you get a lot of love from the culture that you're approaching. And when you mention different places feeling like home, just so many popped into my head. Since Arabic was the first other language I learned, any Arabic restaurant I go to, anywhere in the world, anywhere where there's just any Arabic writing on the wall, maybe it's like a religious thing, you just say Salaam alaikum to someone, and they feel like, oh, wow. It happened to me last night. I was ordering food somewhere in a Turkish restaurant, actually, so not even Arabic. But just knowing that these words cross boundaries between different cultures, it's a very powerful thing.
The funny thing about that is that because I have, I guess, more of a Middle Eastern-y look than Jack, whenever we go into like an Arab restaurant or something like that, when we love our chicken shish, so we do that quite often after the gym, they will speak to me in Arabic, which I don't understand apart from like obviously the basics. And he's the one who starts speaking and replying back, watching their faces and their reactions as this non-Arab looking guy starts speaking Arabic to them. It's always so heartwarming to see it, and the reception's amazing. Yeah. So, and it's the same when I'm traveling and I speak some Thai or Korean to people and they don't expect it. That shock, it's so nice to experience that. And I get it the same when I meet a Korean, for example, who just has gone that extra mile, as we say, to appreciate our culture and our language as well. It's good feelings all around.
Learning language is more than just having a skill. It's more about you're embracing their culture and you're finding your different self, like different part of yourself. That is a true beauty of learning language. That's why even though there is, like ChatGPT or whatever, AI tools are created, but it's still, I recommend people to learn a language because it will broaden your horizon more than you think. And that also includes, like more opportunities in the coming up. And, learning language is like, I can't really thank enough that without learning language, my life would be so great. It's so great. Like, I personally really enjoy having several alter egos of myself. Like when I speak Japanese, like, こんにちは、レイナです。はい、そうですか。はい、はい、そうなんですよね。はい、よろしくお願いします。で、I become like kind of very friendly, very kind. Like I have my own Japanese version. And when I speak Korean, like 진짜 한국인 맞고요. 외국에서 살아본 적 한 번도 없는데요. 영어나 일본어는 전부 다 일하는데 지장이 없는 정도로 하고 있습니다. I became more like firmer, but I don't really also consider this is my original self. And when I speak English, as you can say, that people told me like you became more like a bit more like aggressive, more active. I mean, not in a good way. Like I can push my opinions against people because I feel like I can do that. I am obligated to do that. I can do like American, I can be active. I can, even in front of the elders, I feel like, why not? You do this, then why not me? Like, but when I really speak Korean, like it's very hard for me too because I was always heard, from everyone that you need to respect elders. How can I ever, say no to them? So actually, if you feel like a stress about, the cultures from your country, you can really resonate with, then find another way that discover another self. You don't always have to be, if you feel like an alien from your own culture, that's okay. Everyone feels that. Everyone feels same, really. That's why Rafa and Zach are really, traveling whole world. I'm sure they are also finding where they want to go next, right? You don't really think that you are going to stay in UK forever, right?
Yeah, for sure. You're actually really making me think now, and the different languages I've learned over my travels. I mean, let's say that speaking English, it's kind of more neutral. But when I speak Thai, it's a lot more chilled out. Like, สวัสดีครับ พูดภาษาไทยได้ไหมครับ ไม่เป็นไรนะครับ อยากกินอะไร It's a lot softer because that's the culture. But I used to live in Reunion Island. They speak Creole there, which I guess has that more aggressive tone. Comment il est d'allons? Qu'est-ce que ça fait faire ce soir? Vous voulez manger quelque chose ou quoi? Il a trop faim, moi. Can you see the difference in like how it just takes over my personality? just based on the language and the culture that you've adapted. So it is something really powerful that just that language can bring out so many different sides of you. And in Korean and Japanese, because of the way, I guess it's such a more polite culture, Reina was noticing like I'm bowing at people while I speak. And I didn't even notice I do it, but because I've been in Asia now for 5 years, it almost becomes like synonymous with the language. I'm less kind of likely to move in front of people, and you just adopt the politeness that's almost within the culture as well.
All of this just reminds me that learning languages is not just about having a tick box next to your name or on your CV, which I think before you delve into foreign languages, it can seem like that. You see other people speaking new languages and you think, oh my God, it's as if they've just, plugged a memory card into their brain and now they speak that language. But it's not like that at all, right? It's a process. But within this process, there's so much beauty and fun to be lived.
I really wish, everyone feel really truly find their own joy during the learning.
This has been an incredible episode. And thank you again to Google for Startups Campus. As members, it's a pleasure to be here. And we're so grateful for you for hosting us here in this space.
Just extremely grateful to Reina. Her tips are invaluable. Her journey, we spoke about her career last time, but even just analyzing the language background is incredibly inspiring. So big thanks to Reina. 감사합니다. 아리가또 고자이마시타. Final words? Hey, merci.
Merci beaucoup.
If you have benefited from this, please do subscribe. Chuck a few comments on. Let us know what you think. And we'll see you à bientôt very soon.
Ciao.
Ciao.